In the eerie stillness of the night, 13-year-old Sophia found herself alone in the old Victorian house, abandoned by her parents who were called away on urgent business. The creaking floorboards echoed through the dimly lit rooms, and shadows seemed to dance in every corner, casting an unsettling atmosphere over the once familiar home. As Sophia roamed the empty halls, a chilling breeze whispered through the cracked windows, carrying with it the faint scent of mothballs, a scent that transported her back to her grandmother's house. The memories, long buried, resurfaced, and her unease deepened. Her grandmother's house, with its decrepit facade and overgrown garden, had always been a place of mystery and dread. Sophia's parents rarely spoke of the old woman who had passed away years ago, leaving behind a legacy of strange tales and unsettling secrets. Now, alone in her own home, Sophia could almost hear the ghostly whispers of her grandmother's stories echoing through the empty rooms. The antique clock in the hallway chimed midnight, its eerie melody intensifying the sense of isolation. Sophia wandered into the dusty attic, where forgotten relics from her grandmother's era gathered dust. As she sifted through moth-eaten books and yellowed photographs, the temperature in the room dropped, and a flickering light cast ghastly shadows on the walls. A distant, mournful wail echoed through the house, and Sophia froze in terror. The spectral presence seemed to manifest from the fragments of her grandmother's tales, each haunting memory playing out before her eyes. She could almost see the withered figure of her grandmother, swaying in a rocking chair, whispering incantations that sent shivers down Sophia's spine. Descending into the depths of her own fears, Sophia stumbled upon an old mirror adorned with an ornate golden frame. As she gazed into its reflective surface, the room seemed to distort around her. The reflection revealed a distorted version of herself, surrounded by ghostly figures from her past. The faces of her parents twisted into contorted expressions, and the image of her grandmother loomed ominously in the background. In a panic, Sophia fled the attic and sought refuge in her parents' bedroom, where the air felt heavy with the weight of unresolved memories. The room was filled with the echo of muffled sobs and the flickering shadows of long-forgotten specters. The walls seemed to close in on her as the chilling wail intensified, resonating with the unresolved grief of generations past. Desperation gripped Sophia, and she ventured into the basement, the darkest recess of the house. The cold, damp air clung to her skin as she descended the creaky stairs, guided only by the dim light of a flickering bulb. As she reached the bottom, the room seemed to come alive with ghostly apparitions, memories of her grandmother's rituals and unsettling chants. In the flickering darkness, Sophia uncovered a dusty chest, and within its depths lay a weathered journal. Its pages, filled with cryptic symbols and ancient incantations, hinted at a family history intertwined with the supernatural. As she leafed through the passages, the room pulsed with an otherworldly energy, and the chilling wail reached a crescendo. Suddenly, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the ghostly apparitions dissipated. The house fell silent, as if exhaling a sigh of relief. Sophia, clutching the journal, realized that confronting the disturbing memories had released the grip of the past. The echoes of her grandmother's house faded away, and the once haunted home returned to an ordinary stillness. With the first light of dawn breaking through the windows, Sophia emerged from the basement, the weight of her family's history lifted from her shoulders. The house, no longer a vessel for spectral memories, stood silent and serene. Yet, as she closed the door behind her, a lingering sense of unease remained. A reminder that some childhood memories, once stirred, are never truly put to rest. In the dimly lit apartment, shadows danced across the worn-out furniture as the clock ticked relentlessly. James, a once jovial man, now sat in the silence that echoed his shattered world. The hospital's fluorescent lights haunted his mind, reflecting the sterile walls where his wife and son lay, recovering from the car accident. Their faces, still marked by the trauma, lingered in the recesses of his thoughts. As night enveloped the city, an eerie stillness settled over James' solitary existence. The distant hum of traffic outside was a ghostly reminder of the bustling life he once knew. He paced the narrow halls of his apartment, the walls echoing with his solitude. The weight of isolation pressed upon him, and he felt an unsettling chill in the air. The apartment, once a haven, now seemed like a prison. The creaking floorboards beneath his weary feet seemed to whisper tales of despair. He entered the living room, where family photos adorned the walls, capturing moments frozen in time. The images mocked him with a happiness that had slipped through his fingers. In the absence of his wife's laughter and his son's playful chatter, James sank into a despondent abyss. The quietude of the night amplified the echoes of his grief. He glanced out the window, where the city lights flickered like distant stars. But in the depths of his solitude, those lights morphed into cold, distant eyes, watching him, a silent witness to his torment. The television flickered to life, casting a pallid glow across the room. Static whispers echoed through the empty space, a distorted chorus of forgotten voices. James, his heart pounding, stumbled back, paralyzed by an inexplicable fear. Shadows seemed to detach themselves from the corners, manifesting into grotesque shapes that danced with malevolent intent. A spectral wind whispered through the apartment, carrying echoes of a past he could never reclaim. The photos on the walls contorted, faces distorting into grotesque masks of sorrow. In the oppressive silence, he heard muffled cries, as if the walls themselves absorbed the pain of his fractured existence. Haunted by an unrelenting dread, James retreated into his bedroom. The bed, once a sanctuary for love and solace, now seemed like a sacrificial altar to his despair. He closed his eyes, attempting to escape the suffocating reality. Yet, the darkness behind his eyelids birthed nightmares that mirrored his waking torment. The room pulsated with a spectral energy, shadows morphing into sinister shapes that slithered across the walls. The oppressive weight of grief bore down on him, and he felt an otherworldly presence in the stillness of the night. Unseen eyes seemed to pierce through his soul, laying bare the depths of his anguish. Time blurred as James wrestled with the phantoms that clawed at the edges of his consciousness. His sanity teetered on the precipice, and he questioned the boundaries between reality and the spectral realm that seemed to consume him. The ghostly whispers escalated, a cacophony of sorrow enveloping him in a suffocating embrace. As dawn approached, James emerged from the nightmarish depths of his solitude. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a feeble warmth upon his hollow gaze. The apartment, no longer haunted by the spectral entities, bore witness to the shattered remnants of a man forever changed. Haunted by the night's terrors, James returned to the hospital with a burdened heart. The sterile walls and fluorescent lights offered a stark contrast to the phantasmagoria of his solitary night. Yet, the echoes of that harrowing experience lingered, a ghostly reminder of the fragility of his existence in a city that never slept. In the dimly lit streets of Los Angeles, under the veil of night, James Matthews nervously paced towards his house. The cool breeze whispered tales of guilt as he clutched the ill-gotten gains, the stolen file that would bring him a fortune. The once loyal employee had succumbed to the lure of greed, betraying the very company that had nurtured his career in the realm of electronics. Entering his modest home, James found solace elusive as he stared at the hard drive containing classified information. The glow from his computer screen cast an eerie light, amplifying the shadows that danced in his tormented mind. A conflict raged within him, a war between the allure of financial salvation and the weight of his conscience. As the night deepened, the haunting silence magnified the echoes of his internal struggle. The city below seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, mirroring the turmoil within James. Debt-ridden and desperate, he had justified the betrayal to himself as a necessary evil, a means to escape his financial quagmire. Yet, as he sat alone in the quiet darkness, an overwhelming sense of remorse enveloped him. The tendrils of guilt tightened around his chest, constricting every breath. Sweat trickled down his forehead, a testament to the anxiety that gripped him. Unable to bear the weight of his actions any longer, James made a fateful decision. The city skyline witnessed his transformation from a thief in the night to a man grappling with his morality. The stolen file, a silent accuser, now lay on his desk, a symbol of his moral descent. With a heavy heart, James rose early, determined to face the consequences of his actions. The morning sun cast long shadows as he stood before the towering corporate headquarters that once represented his dreams. The cold reality of betrayal gnawed at him as he handed the file and a written confession to the company owner. Expecting swift retribution, James was instead met with a surprising turn of events. The company owner, a stern figure, studied him intently. Rather than condemnation, there was a discerning gaze that hinted at a deeper understanding. To James's astonishment, the owner acknowledged his remorse and, with a measured compassion, decided to reward his courage in admitting his mistake. It wasn't the punishment James anticipated. Instead, it was an unexpected twist that challenged his perception of morality. As the company owner helped James navigate the legal ramifications of his actions, a sense of relief washed over him. The weight of guilt began to lift, and a glimmer of redemption appeared on the horizon. The owner, realizing the financial strain James faced, offered assistance in paying off his debts.